To the Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello, everybody. We are so excited. Thank you for joining us here today. Gwen, how are you?
I'm great, Chantal. How about you?
I am thrilled for tonight's topic. I was telling you before we hit live, there's a lot of positive energy around this episode for some reason. So I'm very excited to dive in.
Absolutely. Likewise. I'm really excited. Because I feel like there has been a lot of interest and engagement. And I'm thrilled that you're sharing this. It's such, I think, so perfect. And I'm grateful. Since it's Thanksgiving week, super grateful. That this is what we're offering tonight.
Awesome. Yes. Rolling in that gratitude. Love it. So thank you everyone for joining us. If you are new to us, my name is Chantal Cox. I'm one of your hosts. I'm an author, speaker, transformation neurocoach, and certified life purpose coach. I help purpose-driven coaches get from feeling stuck and frustrated and getting them off that hamster wheel so that they can make the aligned impact that they're destined for without overwhelm and burnout.
Absolutely. And I'm Gwen White, your other co-host, and I'm a quantum human design specialist and certified virtual coach for introverts. By reading your energetic blueprint, I provide a reliable process and simple strategies to help you get massive traction on your most important work in your life, relationships, and business, so that you go from frustrated to free, and so that every day you feel excited, empowered, and engaged with your aligned prosperity profile. And before we launch in, I want to give, of course, a shout out to our sponsor, the Create a Life You Love membership. This is an exclusive community of passionate, purpose-driven coaches who are partnering up in powerful ways to increase their knowledge, momentum, and impact. So for more information and to apply, check out createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership today.
Awesome. And quick reminder, this episode is being streamed live onto a couple places on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube using Restream. So please feel free to share comments and questions in the chat. We want to engage with you. We want this to be, just back and forth. We love connecting with you. And if you are watching on Facebook, please be sure to allow permissions just by going to chat.restream.io/Facebook. That allows us to know who we are engaging with.
Absolutely. We definitely want to keep it interactive. So once again, we have decided to give you all a peek behind the curtain and share some content from a masterclass that Chantal is offering in the Create a Life You Love membership. What she's presenting today is from her series called Creating an Impact Through Podcasting.
Yeah, so we really launched this series after hearing from our members that they all, at some level, wanted to do some level of podcasting as part of their aligned business plan. And so, being the resident podcasting expert, I began creating this masterclass just for them. And so we do one once a month. We've done, I think this month might be number 4 or 5. And each week I just kind of check in and see where they're at. And then that is what guides the content and the direction.
Exactly. Yeah. I know our members are getting so much value from this content in particular. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but maybe some do. But the Create a Life You Love podcast is in the top 3% of all podcasts out there. So that's really a testament to your podcasting knowledge and ability, Chantal. And of course, as a special bonus, when appropriate, I'll weigh in on how your human design can help you get clarity on which podcasts are best suited and aligned for you.
Absolutely. And you will definitely want to stick around till the very end because we are going to be sharing how you can get your hands on some free editable templates that I personally use to get on other podcasts, and you're going to be able to use them to position yourself as an authority and really start booking podcasts quickly. So, really removing some of those barriers and accelerating. So, stay tuned to the very end to make sure you get that link. All right.
Indeed.
Yes. Um, okay. So, when thinking about getting on podcasts, you kind of want to think about like why, like kind of what is your purpose? What is your why? What are you wanting to share? And there's some work to do before you ever really connect with a podcaster. You really want to position yourself as an expert, as an authority, as somebody that they are going to want to have on their podcast. So something you can do is give yourself a brief social media audit. Are some of your posts, whether it's on, if you only have a personal profile, that's fine. But if you have a page, if you have a group, are your posts having some type of consistent message that's going to align with their audience that you're going to want to get on their podcast to share with? So if they are like, if they're a mommy podcast and I'm over here saying I'm child free, living the child free life, and that's all my posts, like they're going to be able to see pretty quickly, you might not be an ideal guest on my podcast. I'm sure you're very lovely and you have lots of value to share, but it's just not going to be a very good aligned match. So be checking, do a social media audit, see what are you putting out there that's going to get podcast hosts to want to bring you on and share their audience with you and share you with their audience. You do not have to have a website by any means, but if you are at a level in your business journey where you have one, kind of look at that. Is because as we grow and evolve on our journeys, our niches change, our messaging changes. So just really before you start reaching out heavily to people, just give yourself an overall kind of audit and make sure it all matches. And I know, Gwen, you've got some great things of how human design can really help with that aligned messaging. So I'm going to let you talk for a minute.
Absolutely. So, of course, what you're talking about with regards to consistency and branding can definitely be backed up by human design. So, you can actually look at certain characteristics and certain aspects within your human design profile and in the body graph, which is really cool because it can actually tell you if you look at the information on the very top right, that's what we call the conscious sun gate. So there's 2 rows of numbers alongside each body graph. So if you get your body graph and you look at the top right number, that's an indicator of your brand. And so it's also called your life purpose. But that's the information that you really want to start looking into. It's also really great to look into your human design, preferably with someone who kind of knows what they're doing and has some information on the business end of things, because they can give you some pointers, some tips on how to actually create your branding statement. They can give you insights into ideal clients, and then there are things just as simple as your human design type that can really tell you a lot about how you market. So when you're reaching out to the podcasters, how you want to construct that message to them can really be informed by your human design, and your type really comes into play at that point.
That's so cool. I just love learning all about this human design stuff and how it can really help me build my business in an aligned way through all the things that you're bringing into the membership. So, definitely, guys, I would recommend, if you are new to human design or new ish, like connect with Gwen, come into the membership, do whatever feels aligned. But if you just look at your own chart, that's not going to be terribly helpful. You are going to need a guide of some sort as you're getting started.
Absolutely. And what's nice is if you do get into the Create a Life You Love membership, That is exactly the kind of content that we are rolling out in there. So you'll know exactly what to look at. In fact, the last Human Design Masterclass was all about business and design, in a very large part in coaching by design. So there's some really interesting information there.
Absolutely. Okay. So going back, shifting gears back into the becoming a like fabulous guest on podcasts. So after you've kind of looked at, are you positioning yourself as an authority, as a professional in your social media websites, any kind of content that you're putting out there, then you're kind of ready to start booking a spot, right? And so you want to think about, based on your messaging, based on who you want to get in front of, who you want to impact, like who do you already know directly or indirectly that is serving that audience. It might be podcasts that you listen to, because a lot of times, we learn something, we get something under our belt in our journey, and then we just naturally want to look behind and help other people through whatever we just learned. So a lot of times podcasts that you listen to are aligned with podcasts that are talking about the things that you want to share about and are serving the people that you want to connect with. So think about, who do you already know? You don't have to start from a blank slate and just starting from beginning. You have resources, you have connections. Lean into those. And what communities are you in? It could be like a local networking community. It could be a Facebook group. It could be anything, but what's related to your niche that you're in, and who already has a podcast that serving that niche. There are two Facebook groups that I have had really good luck with, for as both a podcaster looking for guests and as somebody who wants to get on other podcasts. And I did see in the chat recently, shout out to Tracy Cook. Her and I connected in one of these groups, I'm sure. And she is a fellow amazing podcast host with a really powerful podcast. So check her
Hey,
out.
Tracy.
But so these are the types of things, like even just through meeting people through podcasting, like those relationships are going to potentially form into other things, collaborators, referral partners, all kinds of things, just supporters, cheerleaders, friends. Yeah, like we've shared, Gwen and I met, we both did a challenge together. That's how we met. But then I had you on my podcast and we've continued doing it, and now you co-host it. So things evolve when you connect with people you're aligned with. So
So true.
yes. So the two Facebook groups, there are a million, and I'm sure lots of them are very, very good. I just wanted to share just two, not a million, for overwhelm purposes, and ones that I personally have used, not just ones that look good or anything like that. So one, it's a Facebook group called Podcast Guest Collaboration Community. Find a guest, be a guest. And so it is great if you have a podcast looking for guests or if you want to be a guest. Um, and then the other one is called Need a Guest. And so we will get those links in the show notes and everything. And I think, yeah, Gwen's got them up on the screen for you, but we
Yeah.
will also get them for you in the show notes. So when going into these or any other type of community where you are a guest in this Facebook group community, you really want to make sure that you read their guidelines and you follow their standards. You want to be a good community member. And so you don't want to go in there and be spammy or harassy. And I know nobody that's listening to our podcast is that type of person. I just see some of those people in there. So also beware when you get in there that you might see a little bit of that. But the reason I like these two groups is because it is minimal compared to some other groups I've checked out. Sometimes they change. Like one, I had a specific blurb I just posted every about once a week to, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's the link to apply to my podcast. And I posted the same link like a week, just a normal week, and it got rejected. And I was like, what? And they had changed their guidelines to, they didn't want links in the post. They were like, give the information and then they can comment and then you guys can connect. But they felt like the links were getting spammy. And I don't remember if it was one of these two groups or not, but just be aware of things like that, because then that um, kept people from seeing my post because it wasn't approved and things like that.
Mhm.
Approaching it as a guest wanting to connect to podcast host, really look at, because they're posting, this is what I'm looking for. So if you fit that and that fits with what you want to talk about, connect and it's magic. But if you don't fit that, just leave it alone. I've seen some where they just like copy paste the same thing on everybody's. And so we'll go back to the one example I used earlier, which is totally make believe example, other than the fact that I am child free. So if it was like a mommy blog podcast, and I just copy pasted the same thing on every post I saw from every podcaster looking for a guest, that begins to feel a little spammy. So I don't even connect with every podcaster looking for a guest. I only connect with the ones that are we're going to be a good connection.
Absolutely. And of course, you tailor that message to them, you know, according to who they are, who they're looking for, what kind of podcast they have, and then, of course, according to who you are in response, because you're a good generator.
Yes. And keep things relational. Like, yes, this is a way to reach people. This is a way to market yourself. This is a way to build your business, and get recognition and build authority. But at the end of the day, like, you're talking to a person and getting on and talking to their audience that they've cultivated, that they've built, that they've put hard work in, and you're a guest in their house. And so just really coming at it, in a, how can I serve you and your audience? How can I help you? Not how can you help me? How many people on your audience do you have? How many people are you going to get me in front of? What, are you going to make clips and share it? Like, are you going to do that? Like, it, on a big level, it's not about you. Like, big level. And so really kind of keeping that in mind, and coming at it with, I want to share value. I want to provide value. I want to serve.
Absolutely. It's a big part of awareness building, being invited to be on a podcast or reaching out to get yourself um, invited to be a guest. So, yeah, it's so important to keep it professional, but yeah, conversational. Most podcasters are, casual, fun, talented, passionate people. So they want to see that the same kind of qualities in their guests. And a note, kind of pointing back to human design, if at any point, any part of the conversation feels like you feel contraction in your body, back away. It's probably, your body oftentimes has a lot of wisdom and it can know things quicker. We're finding that it responds much more quickly than the mind actually does. And so if you ever feel the contraction or the weird intuitive hit of, maybe this isn't the right thing for me, don't hesitate to back away from that engagement and just, yeah, thank them for their time and move on to one that actually feels right.
Absolutely. There are, I'm not going to say a number, but it's really, really big, millions, billions, like a ton of podcasts out there. So if one doesn't feel right, let it go because it's right for someone else. Don't force yourself into that because it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for them. And ultimately, it's not going to serve the audience, which is the ultimate purpose of podcasting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you've kind of prepared to apply, and then you're starting to apply. So, one thing that we're going to give you at the end of today, so stick with us, is editable templates to what's called a speaker sheet. It's also known as like a one sheet or a media kit. And it's just a one page that highlights you and shows what you can bring. And not everybody has one, not everybody needs one, but you do stand out if you have taken the time to put that together. So if I've got 3 spots and 17 applications, and one of them actually submitted like a speaker sheet, I'm like, oh, they have a level of professionalism. They are taking this seriously. They're not trying it out. They're not dipping their toe in the water. And so I am going to look at their application more thoroughly and sooner than others. So I am sharing the exact speaker sheet that I personally use, and it's editable. And then there's one I kind of simplified, and then a super simple basic one. And there's a video tutorial where I walk through how you can edit that and make that yours. And so we're giving that away for free at the end of this episode. And that is a way to book podcasts when you are in those groups. You can download it as a PNG, a picture, and attach it. And you can download it as a PDF and email it to people. You can upload it on their applications. And that's the other thing in these groups. A lot of times, the podcaster will tell you the next step that they want you to follow. So follow it. Actually read what they've posted. Make sure you're a good fit and follow their directions. I am a solopreneur who still is in my 9 to 5. I get a gazillion applications. And like when I post a blurb on one of these groups saying, here's what I'm looking for, and I put a link, apply here, but people only comment and they never apply, I don't even look. I just don't have time. And if you don't have time to read the post, also we do a live show. So how do I know, how am I going to build trust that you're going to be professional enough to show up and serve well? Like, yeah. So those types of things, really pay attention. You are kind of like interviewing for a job. And so approach it very professionally.
Yeah. Going back to the time factor, podcasters, generally speaking, are very busy, whether they're, working a side hustle or whether they've got, a full-time enterprise. Podcasting is no easy task, and keeping up consistently with a podcast is almost a full-time job in and of itself. And so the speaker sheet that Chantal has put together for you is not only a mark of professionalism, but it also saves the podcaster time. So it's a show of respect, frankly, to have, that kind of a very basic press kit, if you will. And what's nice is you complete this speaker sheet that she's going to gift you, and you can actually use that on your website as a part of your press kit from then on. So it's a really tremendous tool. It's a time-saving tool. It's a great marketing tool. So by all means, utilize these tools and this information.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yes. On my website, I have uploaded that PDF, and I made a little quick, simple page of like, book me as a speaker at your summit, on your podcast, so wherever, keynote speaker. I've had paid keynote speaking engagements before. And so having a place where people can book you is really important. And if you already have the speaker sheet, why duplicate that? Like, repurpose it.
Exactly. And that's another great point that Chantal is bringing up. So, how to impress as a guest. This is also a great way to get your start in speaking gigs. So, if that is another thing that you're hoping to do, the speaker sheet clearly is a great tool for starting your journey as a professional or even an amateur speaker promoting what it is that you do. And there's really no better way to get yourself out there.
Absolutely. Okay. So now you've applied and somebody said, "Yes, I want you to come on." And so now you're like, "Okay, I'm going to be on a podcast in a week or however long of a runway you've got there." So, how do you prepare to show up and impress as a guest? So, you want to in advance think through your talking points. And so you might go as far as creating what's known as like a signature speech. And you may just kind of jot down some bullet points that you want to remember when you are live, because sometimes you get a little nervous or tech isn't working right. So just having even just a couple bullets like, these are the three things I want to say, can be really helpful. And so typically the podcast host will introduce you in some way using the bio that you have provided. And they did not have to go hunt and peck for it. You gave it to them on the
Right?
sheet, on their application, however they want to get that. Um, but so they will introduce you in some way. And then you're going to want to take it a little further, more than just your "I help blah, blah, blah" statement. Um,
Right.
you want to provide an intro and background that connects you with your audience. And that kind of qualifies you to be speaking on this topic. And I want to caution against that word "qualifies," because a lot of times our brain associates that with, "Oh, I don't have a degree in this. I don't have a," that's not what that means. Like, if you're on a podcast about health and they want to highlight somebody, um, about like healthy eating for diabetics. If you're diabetic and you have lived that life, and that's now your passion of talking about and helping other people, you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be like an expert in that way. You are an expert. You are living it every day. So talk about that in a way that's relational, so that the audience is like, "Oh my gosh, this person gets me. I want to listen. I want to connect with this person further."
Absolutely. Nothing connects better than a story. So if you can create a brief story, and even starting with like the deepest pain point that you experienced related to the topic at hand, starting there and then kind of going backwards, is a really compelling way to tell a story. So say you're on a business podcast and you talk about the time that you were um, $30,000 in debt and you managed to now be a six-figure solopreneur. Clearly, that's going to be a very compelling story to open with. People are going to immediately, you're going to have their attention. So think about a story arc that takes you from your lowest low to where you are now, and a little brief summary of how you got
Absolutely. Oh man, I had a thought and now it's gone. Great. The
there. It
joys
happens.
of a live podcast and we don't edit because
Exactly.
it's live. It'll come back though. So after you've kind of done a brief intro and background and shown like you know what you're talking about, then you want to provide value, really dig into the value. And so that could look a variety of ways. Like if you have a certain framework that you work with your clients, certain steps that you want to highlight, kind of give an overview. I'll use me as an example. So I have my framework is the Create a Life You Love roadmap. It has 4 steps: create a vision you love, create a mind you love, create a body you love, create a life of impact you love. And so I'm going to say those are the 4 steps, and I'm going to explain maybe a little bit of how I came up with them or why it's important to look at it holistically and not just one little piece, like it's the whole package. But then I'm going to then really pick one to really dive deeper into, to make sure that I am actually giving value. And so I typically go with step one, creating a vision you love, because it's so foundational, no matter if it's in business, if it's in health, if it's in relationships, whatever it's in. Like the tool that I give to every audience I talk to helps them with something. And so I walk through it, and you when you're digging deeper into that one thing, you're going to talk about like what it is, why it's important, and you're going to give at least one really solid how. Some people will teach you not to give the how, that they get the how when they hire you. And if that feels aligned for you, then by all means do that. That's very unaligned for me. I am a teacher, I am a giver, I am a server. So I want, if the only contact I ever have with somebody is they hear me as a guest on one podcast and they never hear from me ever again, and they never click on the freebie and they never get the download, I want them to walk away from listening to that podcast having learned something, having been impacted in some small way. And so
Mm.
when you come at it with scarcity and you're like, oh, I can't give away my content for free because then they're not going to hire me. Podcasts are 40 minutes or shorter typically. So if you're going to give everything you have away in that short amount of time, we probably need to have some different discussions and do it a
Exactly.
different way. um,
Yes, there might be some foundational pieces that need to be addressed with regards to your programming. But yeah, agreed. Funny. Yeah,
uh,
everyone's imposter syndrome is probably like going off like crazy right now.
I'm not trying to be triggering, but I'm trying to be like super authentic, just telling it
Yeah.
like it is, like unfiltered, unedited. Here are some of the thoughts that me as a busy podcaster thinks about and notices
Yeah.
on when guests are wanting to be on my podcast. And so I feel like it would be a disservice to like glossy over it, like everybody loves everybody and it's great. Like, yes, I'm all about the love and everything being great, but like there are some things that if you take them into consideration are going to give you a big step up.
Exactly. Exactly. You can go back to any episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast, particularly ones where we have guests, and you're going to get tremendous examples of exactly what to do. Because, for one, Chantal is so amazingly organized that she's really good about finding out from her guests what it is they want to share about. But that doesn't happen on every podcast. So it is a really good idea to prepare, to have those notes, to have those bullet points, but also to really have some value prepared, something, some nugget bomb that you can offer that particular audience. And particularly if you really think about the podcast that you're going on, the audience that they have, what they're looking for, do just a modicum of research about who these people are and be prepared to share um, either some whats or some hows if it's aligned for you, that will connect to them and that make them feel like they really got something from that particular episode. For one thing, it's going to make the podcaster look like a hero, but it's also very likely going to bring you additional um, audience members for yourself. You're going to grow your community as well.
Absolutely. I remembered my thing that I forgot
Oh,
earlier.
good.
Yes.
Yay.
And it still aligns. It's not like way back. Like, no, it still goes, it fits in the conversation. I just felt the need to call myself out, apparently. And so when you are giving this talk and you've got your introduction and you've got the value points, um, if you listen to certain podcasts and you hear the same person on multiple podcasts, you will notice that there's a lot of similarities in every interview that they do. They have taken time to do this work in advance and they're rinsing and repeating. But you'll also notice that it's not a complete copy paste. It is
Yep.
tailored for the audience. So, for example, any Jenna Kutcher fans out there, she recently released a book and she was doing the podcast circuit. And back when Marie Forleo came out with everything's figure outable. She was on all the podcast circuits. And so all the podcasts that I listened to had these ladies on. So I'm like, oh, look, Marie Forleo's on Ed Milet. Oh, look, she's on Dr. Shannon. Oh, look, she's on Hal Elrod. And, all the ones that I listened to. And very, very similar, especially in the backstory. Um, they have practiced that. Um, if if you go and listen to all the podcasts I've ever guested on, like my backstory is very consistent. I've worked on that. I've tailored that. I've practiced that. I feel very confident with that. I can give it to you in my sleep. Um, but then the content can really be tailored. And the things that you highlight and dig deeper into can really be tailored for the audience. But there's no reason to feel like every podcast that you're on, you're completely starting from scratch. You should have
Yeah,
some consistency, because then that helps people build the know, like, and trust too. If they hear you on this podcast and then they hear you on that podcast and it's consistent, they're like, oh, I'm getting to know this person. If it's two completely different, they're gonna be like, whoa, what's happening? Um, yes.
absolutely. Messaging is so important, such a big part of the brand that you create. And your marketing messaging is a big part of what you're bringing to the podcast. And so, yeah, like you were saying, preparing that information is a part of being in business, frankly. So, why not bring it into every engagement, particularly when you're a podcast guest, you're speaking. By all means, those things should be a part of what you bring to the table, and they should obviously be consistent from place to place to place, unless you're transitioning your niche, at which point, yeah, it makes sense for you to have a completely new message, but you can always reference the old you so that people go, oh yeah, now they're doing something completely new and they're telling the story about why.
Yes.
But yeah, the consistency in your messaging is super important.
Yeah. And it's fun to see other people's growth, and because then it makes you reflect. So if I'm listening to a podcast and I can tell a noticeable difference between, like, wow, they've grown so much. Like, we just had Jackie on the other day, and she was on episode whatever, double digits, and now again in triple digits. And there's been time there, like 2 year span. She's grown incredibly, and it's really fun to listen to that, the one 2 years ago, and listen to the one like 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, and see that growth. You get kind of like a rallying around that person. Then you want to follow their journey. You want to know more. Like, well, where are they going next? And so you can start building that kind of following as well, and it helps your listeners see that too, because there's a level of self reflection. Like,
Mm.
well, yeah, how much have I grown in the last 2 years? And you can kind of start seeing your own growth and patting yourself on the back and celebrating your wins and building that momentum. Throughout everything, you're kind of strategically weaving through like the transformation that you create for people. So
Mm.
maybe in the intro background part, you're talking about like how you did that transformation. And then through your value, you can be dropping things. And again, one, if it's aligned, and two, if it's true. Be very, have integrity while you're building your business.
Yeah,
But you could be saying things like, oh, and I help my clients with this, or highlighting stories from your clients. And
yeah,
maybe if you're just getting started, you don't have client stories, well, use yourself. Use whatever you have that's authentic, true, and aligned, to be showing that this creates a transformation. And then always have some type of call to action at the end. You do
yeah,
want to talk to the podcast host and see what they allow, and what aligns with them and their audience. In my application process, I have a blurb that, hey, if you happen to be a business owner, I would love to highlight you in some way. This is for my podcast is for serving, not selling. So I'm happy to share a link of where people can connect you. If you have a freebie that is providing value, happy to share that lead magnet so that they can be building their email list. Happy as a podcast host to do that because I'm all about helping people create and grow their impact. So that aligns with me. But not everybody is like that. They just want, nope, if they want to connect with you, they'll figure it out or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but you just want to be really respectful and conscientious. Don't go in assuming that, oh, I'm going to get to make a pitch. I'm going to get to make an offer. Cause nobody's allowed to make a pitch or an offer on mine. They're allowed to provide free value. That's it. Cause yeah, it's about providing the value. So when you are designing your call to action, you want it related to your value. Um, so if I'm talking about, my 4 steps and I go deep into creating a vision you love and I share why and what it is and how to do it. And then my one tool, my freebie, my lead magnet, is going to be related to what I talked about. I may have a really awesome, productivity masterclass course, and I do, by the way. That's not what I just talked about. That so it doesn't align. It's again with that consistency because now you've got those people like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I want to take that next step, and then you like do a 380, and they're like, I might be interested in productivity, but now my brain's so confused that I'm going to do nothing. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, really think that through because you're looking at the whole flow. Your introduction, your value points, your call to action should all kind of be very aligned. And in some ways, it's kind of like a funnel. You're starting big, and then you want to take those people that aligned with that and connect with you in some way with the call to action. And your call to action does not have to be a lead magnet if you're not building an email list. I highly recommend that you do so that you own those contacts. Because who knows, Elon Musk could buy whatever the heck else next he wants, and that whole platform could go away and you lose all your contacts. So you never know.
Good point.
Um, but if you're just not there yet, if you are just starting, look
Yeah.
at what do we have? What do you have? Like one of our amazing members, she is building her Facebook group. And she does these great videos where she's leading through like breathing exercises and meditations, and she just shines and glows when she does that.
Mm.
And so she already had content. She's already talking about it. That's what she wants to help people with. It's all aligned. And so when we have her on our podcast soon, and as she's getting on other podcasts, her call to action, it doesn't have to have a website and a landing page and all this stuff. It can be as simple as I'm on
Come
this
join my
podcast and
Facebook
I say,
group.
come join my Facebook group and I will get you the link to this, or it's already in there as the guides, stuff she's
Exactly.
already done. So really simplifying, take away any barriers that exist and start where you're at. Don't worry about the bells and whistles and fancy stuff until you're there on your journey.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, what you can offer, what you can create as a simple lead magnet is essentially a summary of what you shared on the podcast with maybe just one or two or three, you know, journal prompts or, questions that people essentially answer related to your content. So, very simple and literally something you could create in Google Docs and download as a PDF and good to go. And if someone, wants to download that, easy peasy, you can easily find a free way to collect their email in exchange for that, what you might call your guide. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there are really easy ways, though, to develop a lead magnet if that's something that seems overwhelming or daunting. It doesn't have to be fancy. And then, of course, there's Canva, which has some beautiful templates, and you can so easily plug in your content so that it fits exactly with your message. So whatever you're preparing to be that podcast guest can then become the lead magnet. You can expand it just a little bit and then add a little exercise. Done. And people will
Absolutely.
love it.
Yes. Um, and think too, everybody's busy. So they most likely at this point in time don't want an hour long masterclass.
No, exactly. And, frankly, that's really kind of a VIP lead magnet these days. You're absolutely right, Chantal. Um, I would say 9 out of 10 lead magnets, whether they're downloaded or not, are not even consumed. So, again, keeping it short and keeping it highly topical, really relevant, very compelling, but simple. And then always, always, always create a call to action on your lead magnet,
Mhm.
making sure that people have a direct link to where they can find you, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or your website if you have one at that point. But yeah, all of your social media platforms, make sure your lead magnet has that information so that people can connect with you. And then if you offer, a complimentary strategy call or those types of things, and you want to include that, by all means, that's the appropriate place to really talk up those kinds of promotional offers, is in your lead magnet. You can actually link directly to whatever amazing offer that you want to actually sell people there, or, keep it really clean and light.
Yes, I love that. Okay. So now on your podcast guest journey, it's the day of your podcast
Mm,
interview. So, how do you set up? Um, you want to know in advance, is it a video or audio only? And if it's video, is it just video so you and the host can see and interact, or are they actually using that video somewhere? And so, depending on those answers, will depend a little bit on some things, some considerations. Um, we're going to say, pretend it is video and it is a video podcast. It's going to be available in audio and video. People may watch it or listen to it. And so it's important to that podcast host some different things. So, what you want to be aware of is your background. Um, you are the professional, you are the expert, you are the authority. So, whatever you see in this screen needs to reflect that. You are showing up for an interview, right? Would you show up to a job interview, even if it's on Zoom, with your background being an unmade bed? Not. And so, think that through, even if it's just a white wall. It doesn't have to be fancy, but think that through. What does your background look like? What does your lighting look like? If it's a daytime, if you can be standing in front of a window, that and it's a sunny day, like perfect. That's very natural. Natural lighting is probably the ultimate. Um, or you can buy a ring light, or you can use, like, my ring light is sitting behind me unplugged and turned off, and it's nighttime, so the sun has gone down. So in front of my black dark windows is just a lamp from Walmart. Just that's all. Like, it's nothing. It's just to light my office when the sun goes down. And I repurpose it to, I have it turned on when I do nighttime zooms. um, so it doesn't have to be super fancy or crazy, but you need to be able to be seen. And so lighting is good. No matter what, sound is huge. Podcasting is an audio platform. And so you can do some things. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy a super expensive mic. There are affordable mics. And if you're just getting started and you're just using the mic that's on your laptop, there are some things you can do to help your sound. Um, where you record, like don't be in like a huge wide open space, because then it just sounds very echoey. So if you can be in a smaller space, if you can't be, you can kind of hang up some blankets or something that will not be in your frame of shot if it's video, but will kind of help absorb some of that sound. You want to think about background sounds in your environment. If you have pets, if you have children, if you have other people living noisemakers in your house where you're doing the interview, what can you do to help reduce the background noise distractions, so that it's not a distraction for the audience? Some podcast hosts are pickier than others. Gwen and I are very laid back. We're like, yeah, your dog barked. We live in the real world. Okay. Like, no, we don't want your like dog in the scene and like taking up the whole, like, to where it's a distraction. We're not getting to the value. Um, but if the dog barks, whatever, like, move on. But some people are a little more um, particular, and some people heavily edit or hire someone to heavily edit. So if you can do things that make that editing easier, um, they're going to like you a lot better. um, so just really be conscientious about those things. What can you do to make background sounds lessened? Um, for your video quality, you can get a webcam, or if you're just getting started, you can use the webcam on your computer, or the cameras on smartphones these days are really good. But you want to make sure it is propped against something, you're not just holding it, and that it's, what is that, like vertical or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
like landscape position. Um,
Right.
and again, be conscientious about the lighting and the sound with that. A big thing is stable internet. So if your internet's notoriously not stable, can you plug it in for, do a direct instead of a Wi-Fi? Um, is your hotspot more stable or not? Like, what can you do proactively and preemptively to make sure that you're not stressing the host out with tech issues that could have been avoided if you did a little bit of work in advance? There are some things that are unavoidable, and that's okay. Like, but if you can do a few things in advance. So I close everything that is not absolutely needed, and I turn my Wi-Fi off my phone. And if I lived with other people, I'd be like, hey, no streaming Netflix for the next hour. Like, we don't need to be competing for internet or whatever needed to happen. And if your internet's strong enough that that's not an issue, then don't worry about that. But I've heard of other people go to that extent. Like, nobody's on the internet but me for this period of time. Okay, cool. Um, so just thinking about some of those things, and really professionalism is the key. You are showing up as a guest in their house, serving their audience. So even if they are the only ones that are going to see the video, still present yourself very professionally, because like I said earlier, Tracy's on here. I met her through podcasting, podcast swap and stuff, through one of those Facebook groups. And so I know a little bit about her message and her audience, and she knows about me and my messaging and my audience. And we could say, hey, I had this really great guest that would be a good guest on yours. Let me connect you guys. So you could book one and end up with like 4 referrals if you do some of the things that we're talking about.
Exactly. And like you were talking about Jackie Cote, who was on a couple of weeks back, she was also on a couple of years back.
Mhm.
So there's a really good chance that, if you make a really great impact and really impress as a guest, you'll be invited back. It's very easy. Once you've opened that door and made a great impression, that podcaster is very likely going to want to have you back on and to see your progress. You talked about that with Jackie in particular. And yeah, that's compelling content in and of itself, is seeing someone's journey and having that as the center of your conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And just the other day, someone who we had done a podcast swap, it was a husband wife couple. They reached out and just said, "Hey, we're putting on this summit. Like, if it's aligned for you and your audience, if you wouldn't mind sharing." I clicked on it. It looked like an amazing summit, totally aligned. It's all about creating an impact and being amazing, giving people that they are. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to share that. And it took me 2 seconds to blast that out to my different social medias and email list. Um, but I'm happy to do that. And we hadn't really had much contact in since whenever we did the podcast swap, but I know who they are. I remember them. I remember liking them. I remember they were very fun to work with. I like their energy. So things like that. So I don't know if anybody went to the summit and ended up hiring them or not. But yeah, you can build some long-term ongoing collaborations.
Exactly. It's really a great tool. And it's not just a one stop or a one off in most cases. Um, yeah, it can really propel you into a much greater audience.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've done all the preparation. You are ready to be a rock star guest. And so during, really, you've done all the work. So now just be yourself, have fun, be present, and just
Mm.
focus on serving, and everything will go beautifully.
Exactly. Have your notes handy, but make sure, you're not just staring at them. As Chantal said, stay in the moment, stay present. Hopefully you've prepared well, and so you're ready for anything that comes. But even if you're not, those can be really interesting and fun moments as well. So go with the flow, whatever comes up. And of course, if you have tech issues, yet again, just go with it. You'll figure it out, and there's always going to be workarounds. So try as best as you can to stay calm and unflustered, and just enjoy yourself. Have a conversation with the individual or individuals that are there, and you're very likely going to come away having learned a whole lot yourself, um, in addition to providing some education and value and entertainment.
Absolutely. And then a really key factor that I think a lot of people miss on is the follow up after the interview.
Mm.
Send a thank you email. You can even have like kind of a template already scripted somewhere and you copy paste and update it to match with that person. But thank you for letting me be a guest on your podcast. Maybe highlight something. Um, when I get one, they're usually like, your system was so easy to follow. Like I felt super prepared. Thank you so much. Whatever it is. And then connect with them on social media. Because again, you want those ongoing networking opportunities. And podcasts are like all other kind of platforms, there's an algorithm. And so if you can go on and leave a review, it's very helpful. Some podcast hosts like myself, I kind of ask that, but some don't. So if you go the further step and they didn't even ask you, you just went on and left a review, that's really going to stand out to them. Trying to think what else. Oh, once the podcast comes out, share it, right? Share it with your audience because it's, again, like building your own authority with your own audience that you're cultivating, that they're like, oh, wow, like other people, like she's just not talking to herself on Facebook Live. Like other people are having her come to their people and listening to her talk too. Maybe I should pay attention. But so, yeah, it's highlighting your expertise and your value. So why would you not share it? But it helps boost their podcast algorithms too. So you really want to see like how can you make this a reciprocal, not just me coming on your podcast to get exposure. It's how can I serve your audience? How can I help further your podcast and your message? Who can I connect you to? Do you know other guests that would be good on their podcast that you want to connect them to? Just other things like that. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a great tip and a great message is the follow up. You talked about other podcasters and knowing them. As a guest, you can follow up and say, hey, if you know any other podcasters that you can put me in touch with that you think I would be a good fit for, that would be amazing. You can also take that podcast that you now have and add it to your media kit so that when you are looking for other podcasts to be on, those podcasters can easily see the appearances that you've made. And they're going to go, wow, they were such a great guest. I absolutely can't wait to have them on.
Absolutely. We'll have to get this link for you. I'm pretty sure it's Podchaser. You can
Hmm.
for free create a profile, like a creator profile, and then as you are on other people's, like if you have a podcast, your things are there and you can tag your guests, but you can start compiling. These are areas that I have podcasts I've been on, because then I'll share that link sometimes. I'll be like, hey, here's a whole list of all kinds of podcasts I've been on if you want to listen, to make sure that, I show up, I provide value, things like that. So Podchaser is really good and it's free. I think they probably have a paid version of something, but I don't pay for it and get plenty out of it. It's even on my link tree, like, see where I've been a guest speaker or something like that. I forget the exact words that I use on my link tree, but anybody can click on that and see, oh, she's been on a lot of podcasts. She probably knows what she's doing by now. She's going to be an easy guest. And as a podcaster, I like having other podcasters on my podcast because it removes a whole level of, as a podcaster, I want my guests to feel comfortable and I want to highlight their success. I want them to just soar and exceed and just have it be this amazing experience. There's a little more hand holding, if they've never been on one before, and I'm happy to do that. But it is nice when somebody is like, yep, I do this every week. Yeah, let's go. Like, I'm like, oh, sweet. Okay, let's just go. Like, we don't have to do the whole remember roll. Like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say now.
No worries. We get
Yay.
it.
Okay. So that's pretty much, a lot of the tips, that I wanted to bring to the podcast, to you, podcast audience, to help prepare you to be on other podcasts and help you spread your message and create your impact. And so, if you found this valuable, I just want to quickly remind you that, in the membership, we're offering 3 monthly masterclass series, and there's a whole podcast series. And so, whether you're wanting to start a podcast or increase your reach with your podcast or increase your impact by getting on other podcasts, we've been compiling templates that we personally use, making tutorials to help you with tech or finding tutorials made by, people that are really amazing, and easy to follow, and, other resources and considerations to help you wherever you are on your podcasting journey. So if you found this episode helpful, and if you go here in a minute when we give you the link for the free templates, if you like that template and you like the tutorial to help you with that, and you want more, if you're like, great, now I can I can impress as a guest. What else? What are some other things to start my own podcast or anything like that? Then we would invite you to check out the membership if it's aligned with you. And currently, we are just, as of right now, we're announcing it for the first time ever, that we have a holiday special. So I'm not calling it like a Black Friday special or a Cyber Monday special. It's just the holidays. It's just going to be for all of those days. Okay. Simplify. Um,
I love it. All the days.
all the days.
So, Chantal,
Um, and so, as part of the holiday special, you can get 50% off of your first month of the membership. So that means for just $111, you can access all of the podcasting masterclass series. I think there's 3 or 4 out. I'm doing one live next week, next Monday. So you'd be able to
Yeah.
come to that and ask questions and get coached around things. Um, and so we have the coupon code that we'll get for you. There we go.
Voila.
Grateful 22. And so
I
all
love
caps,
that.
all together. Just go to createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. And we do have an application process, and it will walk you through and make sure that you are a good fit. And if there's any question on our end or your end, then we'll just do a quick little call to talk about what it is you're looking for and seeing if it's a good fit or if there's something else. But so we do have an application to really keep the integrity and the culture and the climate of the membership very sacred and special and the amazingness that it is. We want to expand that. And so we want to make sure that everybody's a really good fit for them and for us. So apply, and then if you're a good fit, then use coupon code Grateful22 and come hang out with us. Also, it's not just the masterclass on the podcasting series. Gwen's doing a supercharger productivity one. It's really designed to take you from unfocused, scattered, and overwhelmed to completely and 100% being laser focused on all the things that matter most to you, so you can successfully get all the things done to accomplish your vision. And then she's also doing the alignment and transformation through human design series. And so whether you're brand new in human design, if you're a human design guru, or anywhere in between, Gwen is taking the membership on a journey to uncover the best ways to use your design in your personal life, in your business, in your coaching practice. So it's really, really powerful. Like, to get all 3 of those series for $111 is ridiculous.
Yes.
Like,
And then on top of that, you get the community. There's an app that links you directly with everyone in the membership, as well as to Chantal and myself. And then we have regular group coaching calls. And as you go through your journey, you unlock one-on-one coaching calls with each of us. So that's an added bonus. So there is a lot that you get with this incredible membership that just keeps growing and expanding, and the offerings just keep getting better and better. And as a member, you also get to help inform the content that we create as we move forward and continue to grow. So, yeah, we're delighted to custom tailor content to our members.
yeah,
It's our pleasure.
yeah, that's why we're doing what we're doing, to help
Exactly.
everybody make the impact. So yeah. Okay, drum roll. Okay.
Exactly. The
Wheel
freebie.
episode for the freebie. So to download your editable speaker sheet template, and this is going to help you position yourself as an authority so you can really start booking podcasts fast. You can go to the link on the screen. It'll be in the show notes. It is createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/speaker sheet templates with little hyphens in between the words, because I apparently like really long, complicated links. But
Yeah,
in there,
we don't
sorry,
shorten links.
when your domain name is a mouthful itself, and you're like, "Can I
Exactly.
buy a vowel?" Like, at what point does it really matter anymore? No,
That's
just
right. Plus, it makes total sense. It's create a life you love coaching. And these are speaker sheet templates. So, yeah, to me, it
perfect.
makes perfect sense.
Yes. So they were made on Canva. So if you know how to use Canva, it's going to be super intuitive and easy for you to jump on there and put those together. If you are not as familiar with Canva, I did a quick little screen share tutorial to walk you through anything you may need. And so that's completely free and available for you at that link. And we would love for you to go check it out. And as you are booking podcast, we want to hear from you. Like, come to the community or message us or email us. Like, we want to cheer you on and be like, I just booked 3 podcasts. Oh my gosh. Like that's amazing. We want to know those things. So please connect with us. And yeah, we're just so thankful that you were here with us tonight. Sorry we ran a little long. I crammed a lot of information in.
Exactly. All the tips, as it were. And yeah, there was, I frankly learned a lot of things just myself. I loved what you shared, Chantal. And I would love to find out from our listeners, from the audience today, what their favorite takeaway is, obviously, in addition to letting us know when they do book their podcast. We'd also love if they would share this with anyone who would enjoy and benefit from it. And of course, Chantal and I would be eternally grateful if you'd leave a podcast review at ratethispodcast.com/CALYL. That's ratethispodcast.com/CALYL. You can quickly and easily review this podcast from your mobile device by grabbing the link in the comments and show notes. And yeah, let us know what you think.
Awesome. And
So
so,
Chantal, what's coming up next week?
yes,
lost my train of thought.
you're perfect. We are peas made in a pot over here. But so
Indeed.
next week, I'm super excited. On our next show, we'll be welcoming author, speaker, and licensed psychologist Selena Jackson. She just published 2 books. Actually, a new one just came. And so Journey to Hope and Healing. And Selena is an empowering author, poet, speaker, and mental health provider. She enjoys guiding others on the path to self-discovery and inner healing. And fun fact, a family I know from the pool I'm a membership with, the wife works with Selena, and she reached out to me and was like, oh my gosh, I just found out my coworker published a book. I can't believe I didn't know this. And she's like, I know you published a book. Like, could I connect you guys? I'm like, of course. So we've met in person for appetizers not too long ago, and we're going to have her on the podcast. And I'm getting her connected to some local networking thing because she lives in Wichita, but is not from Wichita. So we're getting her all connected everywhere. And I'm super excited to bring her onto the podcast. She has a beautiful story, beautiful heart of serving. And she's published 2 books. So, she's kind of a badass.
Exactly. And I love her message around mental health awareness. So if that is, an issue or topic that's close to you, like it is to so many right now, you're going to get a lot out of this. And her books are self-published. So if you're looking to write and self-publish a book, you'll also get a lot of value from Selena Jackson. I think, yeah, I'm really, really excited and looking forward to connecting with her and learning more. And of course, you can find us live every week in the Create a Life You Love community, or catch all the episodes on your favorite podcasting platforms. So please join us next week for sure.
Yes. Thank you so much. I see we have several people still on with us live. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving and enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you're ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.